So, how did I feel growing up with dyslexia? When I was a little girl, I remember being in second grade in Miss Gustafson's class. And we had this test. I don't remember if it was a standardized test or if it was her test. I don't even remember what subject it was in. But I remember having a lot of trouble answering the questions. I had finished it a little bit early, and then when I took it up to her, she looked at it and she said it was wrong, and she gave it back to me. I sat back down, and I was looking, and I couldn't figure out what it was that I was doing wrong. So I changed a couple of things, and I took it back up to her, and she said it was wrong. Well, it was right before lunch that we were taking this, and everybody else in my class had finished, but I kept on going back up to her. She kept on saying I was wrong. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. She held me in during lunch. Well, I tried to figure out exactly what it was that I wasn't doing right. At that age, I didn't quite realize that I had dyslexia. I didn't realize that I had dyslexia, dysoclovia, and dysgraphia. But it was really difficult. Luckily, because my mom was amazing, I was able to overcome it. What techniques did I use to manage my dyslexia? I quite simply worked harder. None of my teachers growing up in elementary school, in middle school, and high school, none of them ever caught that I was dyslexic. My mom had a very strong suspicion, but not even my dad knew he was dyslexic, and I mean, he was already a grown man. I simply worked harder. I thought that I was behind, that I wasn't as good of a student as everybody else. So I would work a lot harder. In math, I would do lots and lots and lots of work, and I'd go over my work. I'd recheck everything several times to make sure it was coming out right. I would, whenever possible, change in algebra some of the letters so that they didn't match, so that they wouldn't be letters that I switched in my head. Like, I would never use an S if I was able to choose what variable I would use to represent n number.
Why?
Because for me, S's are too much like 5s. Whenever I read or work, sometimes I can read a book, and all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of 5s in there, not because it's a book about words or not, a book about numbers, but just because it's what my mind does. So I would work a lot harder, and I'd read harder, I'd read faster. I got very used to reading books and just expecting there to be numbers at some point. When I read, I don't actually read the whole word. I see the letters and assume what word it is. Because if I were to, and I actually read quite fast, I have an extremely great comprehension rate for my reading, because I work hard, because I try, because I've learned how my brain works, and I've learned how to sort of deal with that. What does dyslexia look like to me? It definitely does not look like something inside of the movies. There's not a lot of floating letters going about. To me, dyslexia is quite stationary. It's more like an illusion. When I look at something, it's already changed. Now, I'm not a psychology major, and I haven't studied this. I haven't really done too much research into it myself, because everything I've learned about my dyslexia is from my own experiences. But to me, it's just there. When I look at something to read at a page, some of the words aren't what they really are. It really is like an illusion. I'm not looking at the truth. My perception of it is not going to be what everybody else perceives on the page. Does dyslexia still affect me to this day? Yes. Yes, it does. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I sound so nervous in this interview because it affects me entirely. I'm not talking about something I'm good at. I'm not talking about something that's detached. I'm talking about something that's my weakness. Dyslexia still is very much my weakness. No matter how much I've taught myself or learned how to understand it and how to cope with it and how to work through it, it's still my weakness. It's something that really affects me every single day.